Thank you for joining us today for the Conform to Christ podcast, where we seek to engage the mind, affect the heart, and call people to follow Christ. Jay Jones, here with George Mays. Text-driven Tuesday. Grab your Bible, go to Genesis chapter 9. Continuing on the story of Noah. How's it going?
It's going well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Should have a good Father's Day.
Yeah. It was a good day, I guess. Nice and restful.
Was it?
It's always a bonus. Yeah. What about you?
It was good.
Cool. Where were you headed yesterday? So we were going the same direction when we left church. Where'd you guys go?
Community group.
Okay. Nice. Where did we go? Panchitos. Yeah.
I still have not been back.
Really?
I went right after they opened. Didn't really like it.
Mm.
Haven't been back.
Okay, go try some things.
I need to go try it again.
Make sure you ask for the good salsa that they don't
The
bring
J.
out.
Jones special.
That they're not going to bring out to white people tables. You got to ask for it.
What do you call it? The non-white people salsa? Is that?
You ask if they've made any special salsas.
Mm.
Say, because sometimes they'll make mango. Sometimes they'll make pineapple. Then they've got a hot green. Then they've got a regular, I wouldn't say regular. It's hotter than normal. So one is salsa verde. The other green one must have a different base with no avocados. I don't know. But it's stuff everyone's missing out on. Because your palate's not ready. That's what they think. They think you're not ready for this.
Yeah.
You got to tell them you are ready.
I'll keep it in mind. I'll jot it
Tell
down.
them, I'm George Mays, and I eat Thai food a lot. Bring me the good salsa. Then they'll know you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you had a busy Sunday, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I did go home and fall asleep, though. So that was pretty good. Yeah, I was busy.
Nice.
But I wasn't teaching Sunday school, so it was a little bit
A little better.
better than it has been.
Yeah. Well, we made it through Mother's Day and Father's Day again. I don't know how we did it as a church without making a special super duper Sunday for mothers and fathers.
Yeah. Did you see? I won't name the church, but people probably will know anyway. Did you see that there was a church in town that did the dads wearing all the same shirts?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also another church that was handing out bacon to the
I did
the
see
dads.
that. Yeah. Did Philip send that? Who
He
sent that?
did. Yeah.
Handing out bacon on Father's Day
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the middle of the service.
in the middle of the service and telling dad jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Business as usual here at CFC.
Insane.
Though I wouldn't have turned down bacon.
Do you wish that the pastor would be honest before he gets up and tells the dad jokes? Like to know he really thinks like he could be like, look, we know you're so theologically dumb that it's going to take us handing out bacon and telling dad jokes
To get you to pay attention.
to get you, because you're such a stupid man
Yeah.
that you can't pay attention for more than 5 minutes if I don't tell a joke. So here's what we got, everything that we think you need,
Yeah.
infant man. Don't you wish they would do that?
Yeah.
That's the low view they have
Mm-hmm.
of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been hearing all kinds of stuff about churches in the area. It's been a wild couple of days.
I haven't really heard a lot.
Just more plagiarism scandals. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's between the pastor plagiarizing his sermons or them passing out bacon during the service, I'll go with the bacon.
Yeah.
It was a good day. It was a good day yesterday.
Yeah. It was.
Been having a lot of visitors.
Mm-hmm.
It's been good. Getting to know some new people.
I don't know how, because we don't have bacon.
No, we don't have
We don't have
bacon. We
gun
don't have a
raffles.
bouncy house. We don't have,
It's a mystery, I guess.
We write our own sermons.
Yeah.
They're long.
They're so long. You know, so I tell Brick, like, when I was growing up, I absolutely hated writing papers. Hated it. Probably made it through college writing a couple papers. That takes some skill, though.
Yeah.
What do I do now? Every week,
Mm.
write 24 pages of notes.
Yeah, I had 20 pages yesterday.
And and they're not just notes, right? They're orderly, sequential, logical.
Right.
Never would have dreamed up that for me in my life when I was younger in a million years.
Yeah.
In a million years. Maybe, George, we start packaging our sermons.
You think so?
And selling them.
I don't think anyone would buy them.
It seems to be a profitable business to be in.
Yes, but
the sermon selling business.
I don't think that ours would. I don't think ours would fetch a very good price.
You're probably right.
I don't think people would want ours.
I wouldn't sell my sermons anyway.
I
wouldn't do it.
You got Rick Warren over here selling his. I don't think.
Yeah. And JD.
They're not. Yeah. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not the same. They're
Right.
not the same as what we do.
Yeah. Well, let's get in some of the old ways. Let's go through your sermon.
Okay.
Some of the old ways.
Yeah. The old paths.
Oh no. I prefer.
Isn't that a J.C. Ryle book?
I prefer
The Old Paths.
That we call it something like an ancient Jedi way.
Mm.
How about that?
We'll have to come out. We'll have to come up with some kind of really cool name for our preaching.
Yeah. Don't know if it'll be cool, but it'll be cool to us.
Probably.
It'll be cool to us.
That's true. It'll be cool to us, and everyone else will. What's wrong with these guys?
All right, let's jump in. All right, so here we are. Noah's story continues. He's getting off a boat. Something big's about to happen.
Yes.
And you introduced it as a covenant. What is a covenant?
Mm-hmm.
You said, what is it? What is it, George?
Do you want the Children's Catechism answer? I mean, every Wednesday we have Children's Catechism. The answer, what is a covenant? Covenant is an agreement between two or more persons.
Yeah. But you pointed out, really, that's good for kids to start with, with your building as they're growing. But what is a bigger definition, a fuller definition of a covenant?
There's a lot of different definitions for a covenant that you can come across. I have one in my. I've started having like end notes for my sermon, and
that's pretty smart of you.
And I've got a definition for a biblical covenant. I don't even remember where I got this from. I think I got it from Stephen Wellham. You can find a bunch of different definitions. I just tried to figure out, all right, what are the elements that I want to really highlight in a covenant. So I made my own definition.
There you go.
I don't know if it's a good definition not, but
maybe one day in the future you'll be quoted by some other nerdy pastors.
Yeah, doubt it.
Like us.
Doubtful. Yeah, right. I doubt it. But we got a nerdy future pastor in the room with us. So I came up with my own definition just to try to highlight the different elements. So I just defined it as a covenant is a formal binding agreement established with an oath, detailing obligations, sealed with a pledge between two or more persons in a personal relationship. That was my definition.
Good. Yeah, that was really good.
So
I liked it. And you said there are 6 major covenants
yes
in the Bible. So we really need to understand covenants.
Yes.
If you want, because a lot of people, I think, when they become Christians and they sit down to this book and they're like, holy smokes, how do I understand these books?
Right.
It seems like are they all connected somehow? And they really are all connected.
Yeah.
And covenants is the way they're all connected. And once you start to understand covenants, then you really start to understand the Bible.
The pieces start to come together. The covenants form the backbone of the entire structure of the redemptive narrative. So if you're trying to understand the whole Bible, if you're trying to understand even just a section of the Bible, the best way to approach it is, what covenant are we under?
Right.
What is there a covenant that's being at least assumed in this? Where am I in the covenantal structure.
Right.
Once you understand that, pieces start just falling into place.
Yeah. Okay. So what are the 6? Let's talk about.
There's the Adamic covenant,
Mhm.
the Noahic covenant, the Abrahamic covenant, the Mosaic covenant, the Davidic covenant, and then the New covenant.
Yeah.
Those are the 6 major
Mhm.
covenants. There's other minor covenants in there. I mean, Abraham's going to make some covenants with like Abimelech.
Right.
So there's covenants between different people,
Right.
but those are the 6 major covenants that God makes with his people,
Yeah.
and which carries us through the Bible.
Mm-hmm. And so today we're looking at the Noahic Covenant.
And what's so interesting is that 3 of those 6 major covenants are explicitly in
Yeah.
Genesis,
Uh-huh.
and then the other 3 are anticipated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you want to start your journey on covenant theology, Genesis is where you want to go.
Yeah. It's good.
So.
All right, today we're looking at 2 promises that are revealed in the Noahic Covenant. Number 1, God is still good. He will take care of his creation. All right.
You want me to read this thing?
Oh, yeah. We're forgetting steps, aren't we? Let's jump in there and read it.
Okay. Maybe. Oh,
there it is.
There it is. Genesis chapter 9. We're looking at the first 17 verses. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you, and as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything. But you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. And for your lifeblood I will require a reckoning. From every beast I will require it, and from man. From his fellow man I will require a reckoning for the life of man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. And you, be fruitful and multiply, increase greatly on the earth, and multiply in it. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for all future generations. I've set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh. And the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth.
All right, awesome. So here we go. You have 2 main points, and you said I've got 2 points because there's 2 obvious sections here in this text. So that's the way you come up with your own sermon. You say
that's the way you do it.
That's the way it's done.
Yeah.
For those wondering, there's your great mystery.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make your own sermon? There are 2 main sections in this text,
and sometimes it's easier than others. This one was pretty easy because it was very clear that there were 2 sections, and I'm arguing that it's 2 chiasms.
Nice.
But whether you see a chiasm or not, there are, and every commentary I looked at said, this one section begins and ends the same way, and this next section begins and ends the same way. So there are bookends for both sections.
So the first one is be fruitful, multiply, verses 1 and verses 7.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of these, we have 2 new laws given, and that's the emphasis. You're saying.
Yep.
So God is still good, and He will take care of His creation. And you said this is important. Obviously, you're getting off a boat,
right?
It's like restarting humanity. What's going to happen? Is this going to happen again?
Yeah.
Is things going to get wiped out again? And so you made this point that these two points are really going to help us. They were to help Noah to go into the world.
Yeah, and also, Moses is writing this to Israel in the wilderness, they've obviously been influenced by the pagan nations, and the pagan nations with their pagan gods, the mythology of these pagan nations, their gods are really petty. They'll just wipe out everyone for whatever reason. Yeah. We read the Epic of Gilgamesh, that section a couple of weeks ago, where the Babylonian gods just sent a flood to wipe out everyone because the humans are too noisy. And even after the one guy survives, the head god is mad that he survived. Yeah. And the question is that what Yahweh's like? Is he a god like the other nations? And he doesn't really care about humanity. Humanity's just there to serve him, and if they don't serve him, then he'll just... I mean, you hear the caricature of the Christian God all the time, right? That he'll just smite you. Is that what God's like? He'll just smite you. Is he Zeus on top of Mount Olympus with his lightning bolts? Yeah. That's not what Yahweh is like, and this section emphasizes again that God is good. We saw that in creation, but now we cannot overemphasize the fact that this is a worldwide extinction event. And the question naturally rises to the top: is God good, or does he just casually wipe out everyone? Yeah. The answer to that question is very important, because it takes us to the very heart of who Yahweh is. And this section reminds us that he's good, that life is important, that he doesn't he doesn't just flippantly pour out judgment. I mean, if anything, we've seen in chapters 3 through 6 that he's been incredibly patient with this ever spiraling mankind that was meant to reflect his glory and submit to his kingship, and instead has just violated God's holiness for 1,600 years before God pours out judgment. That's a God who's patient. That's not a God who just casually pours out judgment on his creatures. He's good.
All right. Well, let's look at talk to us about these two laws that are given that are affirming that God is good and he's going to take care of his creation. There are laws concerning man and animals, and then there's laws concerning humans. So men's relationship with animals, men's relationship with other men, so mankind.
Yeah. And these are meant to promote life after the flood, because Noah's being presented as a new Adam. We talked about that last week, all the different elements of the flood story that go back to Genesis 1. He's now being given the command, be fruitful and multiply, which takes us back to Genesis 1 again. He's a new Adam, but he's in a fallen world. And so though we're supposed to draw those connections between creation and now Noah, we're also supposed to see the differences, that he's not back in the garden. If anything, he's kind of in a wasteland right now, all by himself. So God is giving these laws to promote flourishing and life, so that life it's not extinguished. So the laws with between man and the animals are found in 2 through 4. 2 and 3 says, the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast. Into your hand they are delivered. This again takes us back to chapter 1. With Adam, God gives dominion over the world. He's supposed to bring it all into submission. But now there's something that is more than just dominion. There's dread. So now the animals they're not just dominated by man because he's in the image of God. They actually are afraid, which reminds us we're in a fallen world. And there's a reason why the animals run away from us, right? It's because we live in this fallen world and we don't reflect God's goodness the way that we're supposed to. And I think God instills that in the animals. I think they recognize that. Like, here's where we are, like God, we're visible representations of God to the animals, but we're not good representations. We are often cruel, careless, selfish. We don't steward the world the way that we were meant to. And so to remind us of the fallenness of the world, but also I think to encourage animal life so that animals don't, they're not wiped out by humanity. Now they are afraid of us.
Right.
So they scatter.
Yeah.
And on top of that, now we can eat them. And that is a new development that was not in Genesis chapter 1. In Genesis chapter 1, God gives the vegetation, the vegetables, and the fruit to humans to eat. So I think now there are theologians and commentators that debate this. They say, well, the permission to eat animals was just it was there. It just wasn't stated. I just don't think that's how we should read it.
Yeah.
I think the text says that Adam and Eve were vegetarians. I think that's what they were. I mean, just the idea of killing animals and eating them is filled with violence, and that doesn't seem to be the picture that we get of Adam in the garden. It just seems contrary.
Yeah.
So I think this new development is now, as he gave plants to humans in chapter 1, now he gives the animals to humans as food. And he says, into your hand they are delivered, which carries the connotation of just complete mastery and control. So the life and death of an animal is in the hands of people.
Just
You
spilled
okay?
coffee
You okay over there?
Over here on myself. So here's a couple interesting things. My daughter asked me yesterday. She was like, "Well, how did they get protein?" Because she's all into like working out and eating food to be athletic and whatever. And I was like, And so I think the answer that I gave was they ate nuts. They're high in protein. So if that's what we need, like it's in a plant somewhere, they ate it. Yeah. Then I saw this other video, George. Actually, last week, not yesterday, but it was this guy. He gives this. I think he called it like the Jesus Challenge or something. And the challenge is raise an animal from the time it's a baby, give it a name. When it reaches maturity, you take a knife, look it in the eyes, and kill it and eat it. So the guy's whole thing is that Jesus was a vegetarian.
Okay.
And Christians should be too, because Christians shouldn't be involved in killing of animals. Because Jesus is the perfect man, and so he operated like
Adam.
Yeah. But there seems to be a problem with that.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he ate fish.
He did eat fish.
Yeah.
He was even cooking fish after his resurrection, when the disciples came up to him. Where do you get those fish, Jay?
Yeah. Cooking up hot fish.
He even gave the fish to the fishermen, but he told them to let their net down.
Yeah.
Well, what's he encouraging them to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure our ancestors did this all the time. That like Christian like settlers and pioneers. Like I'm pretty sure they raised animals from the time they were babies,
right?
And then ended up slaughtering them and eating them. So I don't really see how this is a challenge.
Yeah.
Because if we're not doing it with our dogs, like that's a given.
Uh-huh.
Shouldn't eat dogs. That's like close to cannibalism almost. You know what I mean? Like eating man's best friend. That's pretty close. But yeah.
Yeah. It should remind us that we're living in a fallen world. I think what we see, if again, there's I'm open to discussing it, but I think what we see in places like Isaiah 11 is a renewal of the earth, and the animals aren't eating each other anymore either.
Right.
They're eating. I mean, if God created everything, then he can structure even what we would call predatory animals so that they could survive on hay,
Right.
like a horse.
Yeah.
Now that for us, we live in a fallen world, and so it's hard for us to understand how that could be. But we need to remember this isn't the world God initially created. And so we are different from what we were, and the animals are too, I think. I think that in the new heavens and new earth there won't be animal death.
Yeah.
Which will mean that we're vegetarians.
Uh-huh.
And that's hard for us to imagine because I mean I like a good steak.
Yeah.
But
we'll 3D print you one in the new heavens and the new earth.
Yeah.
How about that?
Grill me up a good veggie burger, Jay.
No, we'll 3D print
Just
meat.
3D print meat.
There won't be no
You just
animal
won't have
death.
to kill anything.
Yeah. There you go.
Who knows?
There's your answer.
I mean, who knows? We don't. I don't have the answer for everything. I'm just trying to go with what the text tells us.
Yeah.
It seems like they, and I'm sure in a Genesis 6 world that people were eating animals. I have no doubt that the Nephilim were probably eating animals. It's just that until after the flood, it wasn't granted to humanity to do that.
Uh-huh.
So this is almost like God's mercy to us.
Mm. Yeah.
Like a concession.
Right. Make it easier to get food.
Like, yeah. And kind of like, I don't know. It seems like it's something that God gives because he's being patient with us again. But I think that we still should understand that we're living in a fallen world. And one of the things that guides us is verse 4. We're not supposed to just kill animals and just eat them indiscriminately. He says, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is its blood.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a prohibition along with this new law. There's still a prohibition that I think is intended to give us pause.
Yeah.
And blood is simply the summation of life. And so humans aren't supposed to just cut an animal open and just start eating it.
Yeah.
That's gross.
Right.
That's gross, Jay.
Yeah.
This is a law that Israel would have been familiar with already. As Moses is writing this, they already would have understood what this was because God told them in Leviticus and Deuteronomy not to eat food with not to eat animals with blood.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that the dietary laws are not the same. So God doesn't say you can eat clean animals to Noah. He says you can eat animals. So the clean and unclean is part of the Mosaic Covenant.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not supposed to eat blood. Which raises some questions.
Yeah, like people probably are wondering, does that mean I can't have like a rare steak? Right?
Zach over here.
Well, why are you laughing?
We need to get him a microphone.
Huh? You had the same question? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But there's no blood in a
Well,
rare
see,
steak. That's the thing.
So I've told this story multiple times. At a former church, we were going through Genesis on Sunday nights. And we were kind of rotating. Me and the pastor and a professor at Oklahoma Baptist University. We'd rotate. And I had the Noahic Covenant. So I preached this passage. And afterwards, we'd do like Q&A. But the professor was supposed to be like the quote-unquote expert, and so he filled the questions. And he said that, no, you shouldn't eat your steak medium rare because you're not supposed to eat blood. A quick Google search, I mean, just pull it up. Is that red juice blood?
Right.
And the answer is
no.
No, it's not. It's not blood. Right. Just an elementary understanding of the slaughtering process will tell you that they drain animals.
Yeah.
Like not getting blood.
Mm.
But another woman in the church looked at me and she was like, "How do you like to eat your steak?" And I said, "Medium rare." And she just kind of rolled her eyes like, you hypocrite. That's, you're interpreting the Bible based on what you want to eat. Like,
Right.
I'm looking at the results. It's not blood.
Right.
Yeah. So medium rare steaks, that's still good.
Yeah.
It's not blood. But it does raise the question of, I mean, there are blood dishes around the world. Some of them are really nasty sounding.
Well, I mean,
I should not have looked up all these blood dishes.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say back to the steak thing. We'll get into the blood dishes.
Yeah.
If the only way you could ever be 100% sure is to cook it well done,
Right?
and that's not a thing. Like the point is not to make sure that there's no like the chemical structure of a fluid matching blood is no longer in the meat.
Right.
That's not the point.
Right.
It's not to like eat and drink blood.
Yes. We see this in 1 Samuel. If you remember Saul, he makes his foolish vow where none of his soldiers can eat until they've defeated the Philistines. And they're so hungry that when they come across some animals, they just start cutting them up and eating them without cooking them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it means. Don't just eat.
They went Schmiegel on it.
They did, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to respect the life of the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Life is in the blood. I mean, that just means what it says. I mean, if someone pokes a hole in you and you bleed out, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter what anything else is going on. The blood is what keeps you alive. Same with the animals, and so we're supposed to respect that. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're supposed to realize this is a life that we're taking.
Mm-hmm.
We should remember this is a good gift from God to us, but something does have to die for us to have it.
Yeah.
And so don't just eat a raw cow. Like don't eat its blood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But there's like blood sausage and blood soups and
Right.
I don't know.
What if it's cooked? That's my question.
Yeah.
Like the blood dish.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's actually cooked?
Mm.
Then
Yeah.
that changes what it is. So
Yeah.
could it be that this is a command not to eat and drink raw blood?
Maybe. It could be.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how. I didn't look up like recipes.
Right.
I don't know how this is. I don't know how all this is
Now
is
for the
done.
for the little kids out there, George,
Okay.
do we need to warn them not to suck on their boo-boos
Don't suck on a cut. Yeah.
when they fall down?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just joking.
Right.
But this command is given in Acts again.
It is. I think, I mean, again, we could ask all these whatabouts,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have all the answers. I think that the principle, I think that this law is still in effect, and the reason for that is, I think that we still are allowed to eat animals. I think that the death penalty, we'll see that in just a second, is still. It's still applicable.
Mm-hmm.
I think the rainbow is still in the sky as a sign of God's covenant. So all the verses around verse 4, I think, are still. I think they're still applicable. So it's hard for me to say all of this is still okay, but not this one.
Right.
And then Acts 15,
Mm-hmm.
the Jerusalem Council tells the Gentiles to refrain from blood.
Right. Yeah. Which is it? That's like the only stipulation they get. Right?
What idolatry, sexual immorality,
blood.
things that are strangled, and from blood.
Yeah.
And I think the strangled and blood is probably the same thing.
Yeah. Idolatry, sexual morality. So these things are associated with the pagan world.
Yeah.
Right. So don't do these activities that pagans are doing,
Right.
which is associated with pagan worship.
Mm-hmm.
So a theory, perhaps, could it be that eating and drinking blood, which run from our day, like in the present time right now,
Mm.
all the way back to Acts 15, how that has been associated with paganism, witchcraft, idolatry,
Mm.
Eating and drinking of blood. Could it be that this is pre-flood activity that was involved with humanity as they were totally corrupted, that their worship of false deities and the Nephilim, that they were eating and drinking blood?
Mm.
And so that stipulation is, look, you can eat animals, but not like them.
Mm. Yeah, could be. Did you ever watch that Russell Crowe Noah movie?
Yeah, I did a long time ago.
You remember Tubal Cain? He snuck onto the ark.
Yeah,
Remember when he bites the head off that lizard?
I don't remember.
You don't remember that part?
Just for a snack?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Rock Angels? Is that what they were like?
The Watchers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Some wild movie.
It's a terrible movie. Methuselah is like stoned out of his mind.
Who's the guy that has the sword and is like, pow, with the sword in the ground?
That was one of the Watchers, wasn't it?
I thought it was Methuselah.
Was it Methuselah?
There's like, yeah, those Watchers. We're getting way off.
I don't know.
This is, don't even watch the movie. You don't need to.
We're not going to have a watch party?
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
We need to start like a patron account where we just watch movies and just comment on them.
Yeah.
First up is the Russell Crowe Noah movie. I saw that in the theater.
Really?
Yeah. Me and a friend went and watched it. I just remember sitting there like, what am I watching? What is this? Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we don't want to. There's no, here's what happens if you eat blood.
Right.
So he's going to go into the next section is about man's relationship with man.
Mm-hmm.
And it deals with what happens if a man is killed. There's a reckoning required for the blood of man, but there's nothing about that for animals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to, have like an inquisition to see are people eating blood sausage. Like I don't think that's like church discipline matter. I think it's we got one yes no. I think it's just a conscience issue because it's not spelled out. They didn't have modern cooking like we have. So like the question of what if it's cooked? I don't know. I have no idea. But I think that the principle still applies that we should treat animal life as valuable. That we shouldn't just indiscriminately just kill animals.
Right. Yeah. All right. So with this law with man, it seems this is pretty easy, straightforward. It's the laws concerning capital punishment. Right. What is the just punishment if you murder someone?
Yeah. I like how these verses 5 through 7, they're going back to Genesis 4 and 6, because the first recorded sin after the fall outside of the garden is Cain killing his brother. And that word brother doesn't appear again until these verses. The ESV translates it as fellow man, but it's really just the Hebrew word for brother. And I think it is a callback to Cain and Abel. This is a new world. Shem, Ham, and Japheth, don't kill your brother. There's also Lamech at the end of chapter 4. He sings his song about killing a young man, and he's celebrating murdering someone. And here in verse 7 is another song, but this is a song about capital punishment. It's the antithesis of Lamech's song. The whole reason why the flood came was that mankind had filled the earth with violence, and now here after the flood we have commands to hold back, restrain man's violence. That's what it's supposed to do. So God says that he'll require a reckoning for the lifeblood of a man. whether an animal kills a man or a man kills a man, there's going to be a reckoning. And so it says, whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his image. That's the song.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the basis for capital punishment.
Yeah.
Which is not, capital punishment's not something that a lot of people in our society approve of.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised. Only, what did I say, 24 U.S. states still have the death penalty?
Yeah, I think what you see today is where you land on the political spectrum. You can kind of guess what they're going to believe about the death penalty. So further left you drift, the more against the death penalty probably you're going to find. Yeah. Though not always, I guess.
Even the Catholic Church is opposed to the death penalty.
That's very odd.
They're from natural life to natural death.
That's surprising.
Yeah.
I figured they would be death penalty.
Mm-mm.
Really?
Nope. No.
In their actual doctrinal statements?
Yep. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, they're opposed to it.
Yeah, the old Baptist forebears probably wish they would have came to that conclusion a little bit earlier. Huh?
Yeah, that's a modern Catholic belief. That's not.
But I thought the church
that's
never
not.
changed.
That's not Reformation time Catholic Church.
But I thought they never contradicted themselves or erred.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
John Huss would like a word.
Yeah. Yeah. William Tyndale.
Yeah. Tyndale would like a word.
Huss.
They try to double.
What?
They
Wyclif's
did him
bone?
double dirty.
Was it Wyclif's bones that they
did him
they
double.
dug up?
It wasn't good enough the first time. They had to dig him up, burn his bones, throw him in the river.
Throw him in the river.
Double capital.
Yeah.
That's what you get when you try to do Bible translation work.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
But this command, this is, I think, it is a command. This is what justice is. God is a just God, but this upholds the dignity in the special place that the image of God has in the world.
Right.
That a human being, no matter who they are, how rich or how poor they are, if they're disabled or if they have an IQ of 200, that applies to all people the same because they all bear the image of God. And so to destroy the image of God is not just an assault on that person, it's attack on God.
Yeah. And that's important for us to recognize that the very last line of that verse is God made man in his image. So the image of God in man is still here today after the flood. So the fall didn't erase the image of God.
Mm-hmm.
We're like broken mirrors. We still reflect, but it's distorted. But it's still an attack on an image bearer. But yeah, you're right. The death penalty, it elevates the sanctity of life, not just for the person who is the victim, but I think also the sanctity of life for the criminal. That this is so important that this life has to be taken also. So the criticism is, well, you're against killing, so you're going to kill somebody. But what's the alternative? Throwing this person in a box for 50 years? Is that showing dignity for life?
Right.
Like, is that justice? Not just for the family. Like, what justice is that? But also for the person that's being thrown into a box. Is that what his life means? Is his life so, you belittle him so much that you just throw him into the prison system that's hell on earth? The death penalty says this is the image of God in man is so valuable, so precious that life has to be taken in response.
Well, you can't make restitution, right? So
Right.
other crimes that we see, like,
Right.
you could make restitution if you stolen something from somebody. You can make them whole and then pay it back extra.
Even that has been I mean, we just got notification that the Kool-Aid guy is up for parole.
Mm.
Okay, he's been thrown in a box for 5 years. What did that do for anybody?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't do anything for us. Like, there's no restitution there. And what did it do for him? That didn't do anything for him. Now he can
likely harden him more.
And even if he wants to turn his life around, it's just going to be more difficult because he's got a criminal record.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing, like the prison system, you don't see that in the Bible. You don't see anything where they're like, throw this guy in a cell.
Yeah.
For years.
Right.
That's not the dignity of human life. And what's so I would say infuriating is how the death penalty is upheld in all 50 states for unwanted babies.
Mm-hmm.
But criminals, well, we can't put them to death.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah, it is.
That the baby who's conceived because of rape gets the death penalty. But should a rapist get the death penalty? Well,
yes.
People would be like, no.
Yes,
no.
yeah, they should.
Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Well, I think we see that this is good for society. Like when God gives these laws, they have a restraint. It's not solely about justice. It's about restraining more evil in the world.
Yeah.
So the death penalty, even in the states they're at, is carried out so long after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And it's done in private.
Right.
In a sanitized environment.
Right.
And maybe the family can go watch, but the other people who might be likely to engage in that activity, they don't get to see it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always said, like, hey, for people that molest children, televise it. Televise them being executed in like a medieval, terrible way to die fashion. Like they call it being drawn and quartered by horses.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to prevent other people from engaging in that activity.
Yeah.
Right. If that's public and it's carried out swiftly, there are going to be a whole lot less child molesters in the world.
Yeah. What is it in Ecclesiastes? Because the sentence against sin is not carried out swiftly. What sinners keep doing it or whatever.
Yeah.
This is supposed to encourage human flourishing.
Right.
It's supposed to, because Noah and his sons are still fallen. They're still sinners. So they're still going to have that proclivity towards violence. And this is supposed to, I mean, if mankind's just given over to violence, they'll wipe each other out.
Right.
I mean, that's what people fear nowadays, right? Not just individuals, but nations that are given over to violence. And the fear is that they're going to wipe us all out because there's just going to be a nuclear holocaust.
Yeah.
This is supposed to curb violence.
Yeah, and it's not like, hey, this person killed your brother. Now, justice for you looks like you killing the whole clan.
Right.
This says no, that is not justice.
Right. This isn't supposed to be the Hatfields and McCoys.
Yeah.
This is given to society. It's a sin against society, and so society is supposed to carry this out. This is not put on your Punisher gear and go out and just enact street justice.
Mm-hmm.
This is supposed to be, the government has the authority to do this. Whatever the government structure looks like. In Israel, each town was kind of its own government. So it wasn't supposed to just be vigilante justice.
Right. Yeah. All right. Good. All right. So these show God's goodness and that he's preserving society, preserving humanity. He's going to take care of his creation. God is good. He will take care of his creation. Now, the second promise we see is that God is still faithful and he will save his people. And again, another chiasm.
I think so.
Right? What it begins, I establish my covenant with you, and it ends with covenant.
I have my proposed chiastic outline if you want to throw it up on the screen.
Let's take a gander.
That's my chiasm.
There you go.
whether I'm crazy or not, that's what I saw. So, anyway,
So okay,
yeah,
so he
but regardless, the first and last are bookends,
yeah.
and in the middle is supposed to highlight the sign of the covenant.
Yeah. So he will establish a covenant, and then you drew out that this covenant is a little different than like maybe like we say our marriage covenant, because we've got two parties here with God as a witness, and they both have these covenant obligations. But this one seems really one-sided.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very one-sided covenant, which
Yeah.
you said resembles more of a royal grant covenant.
Yeah.
Explain that.
A royal grant covenant would be a king giving some kind of gift. Typically, it would be land to like a trusted, loyal servant. So you can imagine a king going into war, and he's got this general who proves to be the most loyal, courageous soldier. After the war, the general comes back, and the king is like, "You are one of my most trusted servants. I'm giving you, this piece of land. I'm giving you, this town
This is how
that you've conquered."
this is like how kind of like the lords
Yeah.
in England as it was forming. This type of stuff.
Yeah, like a duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, give them like a dukedom. Yeah, it's so it's the king. It's not this is not an agreement between equals. This is the king giving a gift to a servant. And it's based on past covenant loyalty, not I'll give this to you if you do this. It's you've done this, you've been faithful. So here I'm rewarding you.
I'm
giving
give you this,
something.
and I'll do this for you, and I'll provide protection, and that's how it will always be.
Yeah, and we're bonded.
Yeah,
like you're like family to me now. You're one of my closest guys.
Yeah, and so we can see that in this type of covenant, God is the king. He's giving this covenant not just to Noah, but to all of humanity, and saying these are the stipulations that will be upheld forever.
Right, and it's not conditional.
Yeah,
he's not saying, well, if you keep eating blood, then all bets are off. I will do this. This is my covenant that I establish with you, all living creatures, forever. He's very adamant on this. He says 4 times, every living creature. He says, for all future generations. Verse 17, he says it's a covenant with all flesh that is on the earth. And verse 16, he says it's an everlasting covenant. So it's for all creatures, all times, everywhere. And it's completely undeserved. It's completely unilateral.
So the world will continue. Life will be preserved. Humanity will go on. I will never destroy the earth in a flood again. This is my promise. This is my covenant I'm making to all of mankind.
And this, I mean, again, I think this is argument for it being a worldwide flood. This covenant doesn't make sense if it was a localized flood. I had someone come up and ask me, like, is this just about a flood? Because that's what is mentioned. He mentions the waters of the flood. But like we talked about last week with the end of chapter 8, I think that this has to be naturally expanded to any human ending cataclysm. Yeah, he's talking about the flood because it's coming off of a flood. But I think that this covers everything from nuclear holocausts to some kind of super virus to global warming or an ice age or a zombie apocalypse or whatever.
Asteroids.
Yeah. The point is God is never going to wipe out all of humanity ever again, all at once ever again. So putting the Bible together, that means that when Christ comes, there will be people alive. Now, that doesn't mean that there won't be cataclysms. That doesn't mean that there won't be major cataclysms. And there's nothing to say that when Christ comes that mankind won't be living in
The Stone Ages.
the Stone Ages. There's nothing that says that.
So could bring about a worldwide cataclysm
Right.
through nuclear warfare
Yeah.
that resets us back to the Stone Ages.
But
Christianity will continue,
and people will still be alive.
and the church will go on, yes, until the end.
Yes. Yeah. Who knows what that would look like? Who knows?
Yeah.
Mankind may not be in the millions or billions.
I'll tell you
may
what it
be a
looks
small
like.
pocket.
I'll
but
tell you what it looks like. Looks like that Denzel movie. I don't want to give away the plot twist.
What, Book of Eli?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Could be.
I got an agreement over here.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, we don't know the specifics. We just know that the promise is that there will be people alive till the very end.
Yeah, yeah.
And even then, I mean, again, we're looking at the whole story. Only 8 people were saved from this flood.
Yeah.
When Christ comes, it won't be all of humanity that's wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
Believers will be alive.
Right.
Believers will be saved,
Yes.
and it will be more than just 8.
Right.
It will be a great multitude that can't be numbered. So God will, even at the end of the world, when everything is made new, it's going to be more than 8 people. It's going to be there's going to be salvation for all of God's people. So God will still be true to this covenant.
Mm-hmm.
So even I think the end is not going to it's not going to be the same as the flood.
Yeah.
Because God has promised not to destroy all living creatures, and He won't because of Christ.
So God makes His pledge, and He gives a sign. A sign,
and that's the center. That's everything has been going. This is the point of the Noahic story.
Mm-hmm.
The whole story. We often focus on the flood and the ark and the animals, but the point of the story is the covenant.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the flow of the story has been going.
Mm-hmm. And this is usually called a rainbow, but you pointed out that in the text it's just called a bow.
Right.
I thought that was interesting detail.
Yeah. There's no Hebrew word for rainbow. Context determines what's being discussed.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a rainbow, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he puts his bow in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what is that? It's a rainbow, right? Context tells us that, but the word is just bow. There's no Hebrew word. Even the Greek, during the time of the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Old Testament, the Greeks did have a word for rainbow in that time, but they didn't use it. They used the word for bow.
Mm.
So there's a significance to that, even though the NIV and strangely the New King James translates it as rainbow. Thought that was weird because the King James just has bow. New King James says rainbow. The reason is that we're supposed to see the imagery of a bow, like a weapon. That's what we're supposed to be seeing. It's not. I mean, what would the rainbow even signify in the sky? If it's a bow, that's giving us some kind of understanding of what's going on. What is this sign? The sign is like a hunter who comes in from the hunt, and he hangs up his bow over the mantle. He's gone to war. He's swept away all the evildoers with this flood, and now he's done. There's peace. And so he's making this covenant of peace with Noah, and the sign is that he takes his bow and he hangs it up, and it's pointed up. It's not pointed down at the earth. It's pointed up into the sky. He will not. He's done. He's not going to go to war again. And that's a really important sign for us. I mean, that's a sign that God, not because Noah and his family are now sinless and we're back in the garden again. God is obligating himself to Noah and saying, I'm hanging up my bow simply because God is obligating himself. Despite man's sinfulness, God is still not going to destroy all of mankind with a worldwide judgment.
Right. Yeah.
Which is just heightens the irony of all these groups that take the rainbow and just do whatever they want with it.
Mm-hmm. Co-opted culture. It's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You said that. Yeah, absolutely. And there's a connection you drew to Isaiah chapter 54.
Yeah.
If you want to elaborate.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the Bible just does all the work for you.
Yeah.
Right? So Isaiah chapter 54, verses 1 through 10. And again, we're reading the text in order. We're not just taking 54 and ignoring everything that's going on around it. We've had the suffering servant of Isaiah 53. God has poured out judgment on Israel in exile. He's going to bring them back, but even more importantly, he's going to send his servant, who is going to ultimately bring them back by dying for their sins. That's Isaiah 53. Now, 54 and onward is what did the servant do? Here's the work of the servant. And Isaiah 54 is going to talk about a covenant of peace. And he brings out a contrast for us. So it says, sing, O barren one who did not bear, break forth into singing and cry aloud, you who have not been in labor, for the children of the desolate one will be more than the children of her who is married, says Yahweh. Enlarge the place of your tent, and let the curtains of your habitations be stretched out. Do not hold back. Lengthen your cords and strengthen your stakes, for you will spread abroad to the right and to the left, and your offspring will possess the nations and will people the desolate cities. Fear not, for you will not be ashamed. Be not confounded, for you will not be disgraced. For you will forget the shame of your youth, and the reproach of your widowhood you will remember no more. For your Maker is your husband, Yahweh of hosts is his name, and the Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. The God of the whole earth he is called. For Yahweh has called you like a wife deserted and grieved in spirit, like a wife of youth when she is cast off, says your God. For a brief moment I deserted you, but with great compassion I will gather you. In overflowing anger for a moment I hid my face from you, but with everlasting love I will have compassion on you, says Yahweh your Redeemer. This is like the days of Noah to me. As I swore that the waters of Noah should no more go over the earth, so I have sworn that I will not be angry with you and will not rebuke you. For the mountains may depart and the hills be removed, but my steadfast love shall not depart from you, and my covenant of peace shall not be removed, says Yahweh who has compassion. Mm-hmm. So, as God has promised to Noah not to flood the whole earth again, God now has made, because of the servant, who's a greater Noah, who has absorbed the wrath of God on the cross. This new covenant is even more secure. Mm-hmm. He's promised to be faithful to the Noahic Covenant. Now he's saying,
wrath will never come on you.
Wrath will never come on you again because of what the servant has done. Yeah. And this covenant of peace is going to be established forever. Mm-hmm. So whenever we look at the rainbow in the clouds, and we remember that God has promised never to flood the earth again, it should also, because of places like Isaiah 54, remind us that there is a greater sign, Christ raised from the dead and exalted at the right hand of God the Father in heaven. He is a greater sign in the sky, who reminds us that God will never be angry with us again because Christ has absorbed all of the wrath of God in our place.
When you say us, you mean the covenant people.
The covenant people, yeah, the believers, yeah. The Noahic covenant is God's goodness and grace to all people. So even unbelievers, even the most hardened unbeliever, will benefit from the Noahic covenant. But there's a better covenant. If you're just satisfied with, well, I get to eat meat, and God won't wipe us all out with a flood. and that's all you get, that's still God's goodness, but you'll still perish. Let the Noahic covenant point to a new covenant with a Savior who's actually died for sinners and who's been raised from the dead, who's been exalted, who will save completely all who will come to him. And that when the wrath of God is poured out on this world, you'll be saved.
Yeah.
Not just in this life, but forever.
That's good.
And that is far superior to the Noahic covenant.
Yeah. That was good. I really enjoyed that tie-in. All right, so where we're going, we got one more.
We've got one more, verse
Noah.
18 through 29, which is a bizarre story of Noah and his son Ham.
Yeah.
So
have to come back and check that one out.
Might be one that people want to read ahead of time.
Yeah.
And try to figure out what's going on.
Come back and check it out.
Because I'm trying to figure out what's going on too.
You'll get there. We know it. You will. All right. Thanks, George. All right. Thanks for tuning in and following along with us past several weeks as we looked more in detail at the life of Noah, the flood, and now the covenant. Hopefully this has been beneficial to you and you are understanding the Bible better as you listen along. That's our goal. It's our hope that you wouldn't just get information, but this would help you in your sanctification as you become more and more like Christ. If it has, please give us a like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next time. Till then, bye-bye.